Hello.
Hello.
And that was the scene at our Blue Peter Stampede depot, where your envelopes and parcels full of stamps have been pouring in.
And last week we took Blue Peter cameras to the depot so that you can see exactly how your stamps are being sorted, and you can see what happens later on in the programme.
But first, the latest news of how near we're getting to our target of 2 million envelopes full of stamps.
And it really is very encouraging indeed. You may remember on Thursday we were able to show that we had reached the 500,000 stage on our giant pillar box totalizer. Well, since then you've sent in so many more envelopes and parcels of stamps that we're now able to light up the 750,000 stage on the totalizer, which means that you've now sent in over 750,000 envelopes of stamps.
So thank you very much indeed, everybody who joined in with the Stampede. But please don't stop now, will you? Because there's an awful long way to get to the top.
And you may also remember last Thursday that we did mention we've had an awful lot of anxious inquiries about the oxen that we're hoping to send to the refugees who want to get back to their village of Dinsa.
Yes, all these letters say the same thing. They ask how can these oxen that we want to send out there survive in view of the drought and famine that there's been out there. And we were able to tell you that it's been possible to plant a very small crop of sorghum out there so that there will be some cattle food available. Now this in fact is the plant of sorghum. It grows to a height of about 6 feet, and it's the leaf part that's used as cattle food. But the rest of the plant isn't totally wasted, because I've got the seed of the sorghum plant here. Now this grows at the top of each of the shoots, and this was sent to us by our reporter in Ethiopia, Tony Hall, and he said that this seed part is used very much in the same way as corn is in Britain. Amongst other things, it gets ground up to make bread.
And sorghum seed is one of the things that we're going to be sending to the people of Dinsa, along with the oxen and the ploughs.
And another point about how these animals can survive, because of the drought, vast numbers of animals did die out there, and now there is some grazing land available for our oxen when they arrive, provided you send us enough stamps for us to buy them.
Yes, and that's what we need, because those oxen, ploughs and seeds are very badly needed. And now back in Britain. Well, petrol isn't actually rationed at the moment, but there's a great deal of shortage of it. In fact, there's a shortage of petrol throughout the world. And it's not surprising that everyone's trying to think up cunning ways of saving fuel. The Italians, for instance, have come up with this idea. It's a pedal-powered bus which is running in Milan. The passengers hop on and pedal like mad while the driver steers and operates the brakes. It's very ingenious, and so is the British invention that came into the studio this morning. And it looks a bit odd, but possibly more use than a big posh limousine stranded by the side of the road because it's run out of petrol. Because believe it or not, this machine does 450 miles to the gallon. It's been designed and built by 4 engineers from Thornton, and resting upon it now is Brian Beattie. Hello, Brian.
Hello, John.
What do you call this machine?
Call it the green snail, for
Why's
obvious
that?
reasons.
Well, because it doesn't go fast.
Not more than 20 miles an hour, anyway.
It's made up of all sorts of odds and ends. So then what is it, basically?
It's basically a 50cc Honda motorbike.
Yeah.
And you take a few things off, such as the handlebar and the seat. And,
Yeah,
and
build
the
a
main wheel
sidecar.
bed. Yeah. And
Now,
the-
you steer it from the front wheel down there.
That's right, from the front spindle.
And what's that? That's the
This
throttle?
is the throttle, and this is just the brake.
And you've got a gear lever down there.
Yes.
So you can have a go.
Yes, why not?
Right, well, you crawl out, and then I'll crawl in from the other end. What's the aim of it in the end?
We're aiming to do somewhere in the region of 1,000 miles to the gallon, eventually.
Well, I don't think we can test 1,000 miles today in the studio. I'll do a couple of 100 yards. Right. Now,
Okay.
first gear is up.
It's up. And away you go.
Right. And away I go. Look out, doggy. Of course, there are... Right. Disadvantages. My God. The throttle goes round the opposite way. It does on an ordinary motorbike. Ah! I keep thinking I've got to go that way, when in fact I've got to go the other way to make the throttle go. Because really, I suppose a disadvantage, I've called a big O in our psych. Oh dear. Get into trouble for that. Ah!
Don't forget the brake.
Not very good, was I?
Better
I've
luck
done all
next
sorts
time.
of damage.
Let's see. Down.
Well, of course, the big disadvantage, I suppose, why my driving was so bad, was because I was laid down on my stomach.
Yes.
It's very difficult to judge it all,
Probably
isn't
you
it?
would have been better with your left hand and using
Oh,
the
I
right
see, I
hand
was
for the gear
steering with
lever.
the wrong hand.
Yep.
Oh, well, we live and learn, and I've just learned. Brian, thanks very much. Are you going to drive it back to Thornton now?
OK, John, I'm on my way.
Are you?
No, not really, because it's not licensed for the road.
Oh, I see. Oh, and you can drive it out of the studio. Right,
Okay.
thanks very much. Well, as Brian said, it's not licensed yet for the road. Driving something like that has got quite good possibilities, as long as they don't let me drive them. And maybe sometime in the future you can see hundreds and thousands of those running up and down the main roads.
And since we recorded that invention this morning, we have actually managed to repair the great big hole that Johnny made, so the damage wasn't permanent. And incidentally, in case you couldn't hear above the noise of the engine why you have to lie flat in that invention, it's to reduce wind resistance. So, although you do save on petrol, I think you might just get a rather uncomfortable ride. Anyway, from new inventions to old traditions, one of which is having a real Christmas tree at Christmas time. Only problem with this is that nowadays real Christmas trees can be a bit pricey and they're sometimes quite hard to get hold of. But this doesn't mean that you have to go without one, because you can very easily make one, providing that is that you've got some brown paper and some empty cornflakes packets. And just beside me is the result. And I think it's very attractive indeed. It's set in... I'll move it out a bit. There we are, away from Jason, and then you can see. It's set in a decorated flower pot. The branches are made out of brown paper, painted green, and they're sort of held outwards slightly by this. If I lift up the branches, you'll see the secret. It's a layer, a circle of cardboard, and it acts as a sort of crinoline petticoat to keep the branches sticking out. Then it's decorated with tinsel and stars right the way up to the top, where there's a red-coloured ribbon decorating the top of it. And, as I say, I think it makes a smashing decoration. Well, if you'd like to see how the whole Christmas tree starts out, Johnny and Pete are just starting to make one. So, have a look at this.
Well, I'm actually working on the branches, and I've got a large sheet of brown paper in front of me, tin trays, saucers, plates, pan lids, in fact, going from big circles to small circles. And when I get rid of them, I've seen this done before by magicians, you end up with a big piece of paper full of circles. Now, what you want to do then is start to cut out all the circles. Make a bit of noise. And you end up then with lots of brown paper circles like that. Can you get in for the tin lids?
Yeah, well, whilst Johnny was chopping those out, I've been cutting out the cardboard pieces which are going to support the branches, and you can see, if I lay them out on top of the cardboard, of the paper circles, they're much smaller, they're about half the size, in fact, and you need fairly tough card, so I've used cornflakes packets and soap packets and so on. And remember, when you've cut them out, to make sure that you cut a sort of star effect right in the centre there. Not a big hole, just stick the scissors through and make a couple of snips so that there is a hole there. I'll show you what that's for in a minute. But the next stage, having cut out all these brown paper pieces and the cardboard, is to paint the paper green.
Well, I've got some painted pieces up there, all circles cut out with poster paints, and when they're dry, another star bit right there in the centre, and then you start to work in with a pair of scissors into the branches. Just sort of work in like that to about 3/4 of the way up to the centre. And when you finish that, you end up with a thing looking like that. And that's what your branch is going to be. The smallest branch, which is the top branch, when you've done it, in fact, you can snip along one of the branches right through to the centre, because this is going to be folded round and placed in a cone shape. A little bit of glue will go down there, and you just hold it together, let it dry, and I shall now ask for the tree trunk. Have we got the tree trunk?
Well, I've got the makings of the tree trunk, and I'm going to put them all together now. I've got an ordinary flower pot here for the sort of Christmas tub, and in it I've put some silver paper. You can use any paper, actually. That's to block up the holes in the bottom, and that is to make sure that the earth that I'm now going to pour in there doesn't come out through the other end. Actually, if you haven't got earth, don't worry, because some scrumpled up paper will do just as well. What you want is something in there to hold the tree trunk in place. This is the tree trunk, just an ordinary stick, doesn't matter what colour it is, because once the leave's on, you won't see it. Put that firmly in the middle like that, so it stays in place, and then, as I've done with this one here, I've decorated the tub with some crepe paper and a couple of layers of tinsels. And John, Pete, here you are. It's all ready now
for us
to
do
have its
something
branches
with.
put on.
Well, now comes the point where I can explain what that star-shaped thing in the centre was. Take your largest piece, your largest circle of cardboard, and force the hole over the top there of the tree trunk and push it down to about 10 centimetres from the top of the bowl.
And then with the largest piece of paper, do the same again, and press that down onto the top of the cardboard.
And if you haven't made these snips in the cardboard too big, that as you slide it down, there's the next one coming down there. This is now leaving a gap of about 6 or 7 centimetres there. It will stay in place. If it doesn't, then you want a bit of sticky tape around there to hold it in place. And this, of course, is ready for the next
You can
piece
see
of green.
how to bend the leaves down before you put the next lot on. The next green round piece of paper will fit on there. But we'll go right now to the top where what you do, you see with this cone piece that I made that's now glued, a little bit of glue on the top, and that cone just rests on there. Voila.
Very good.
Ollie.
And, in fact, when you have got them all in the whole way, as we bring back the original Christmas tree, you'll see the effect really is quite stunning. We've already decorated this one, of course.
I think it's a masterpiece, actually.
Yeah,
I
thank you
say
very
it
much.
myself.
Yeah.
And decorations are as simple as actually making the tree. Believe it or not, these little silver stars started out as one of those. It's a silver milk bottle top. I washed it, of course, first, and then I cut it into a star shape, put some glitter on, and then fixed it to the underside of the branch. And then the tinsely bits, I've got one here actually I'll put on, are just a piece of tinsel with some sticky tape on, and that again you stick on the underside there. You do that all the way up the tree, so it's really glittery. And then right at the top, this is just some Christmas ribbon, which I've wound round and round and round to make a sort of Christmas bauble on the top.
Oh, I think the whole thing looks very sparkly indeed. Of course, you can add as many decorations and of as many different kinds as you like to it. We've just added these of tinsel and glitter and so on, but you could add anything you like, and I think the effect, as I said, very sparkly.
And of course, if you don't have a large sheet of brown paper or a large cornflake packet, you can use little bits of brown paper from parcels, smaller pieces, and end up with a smaller tree.
Yep, like
Got
the
one
one
of
that
those
I've got here, which I think is smashing. And of course, a smaller Christmas tree would make, I think, a very nice decoration in the middle of the table on Christmas Day. And another thing with these trees is, once they're made, providing you pack them up carefully after Christmas, you can then get them out year after year and always use them. Now, for the news we promised you about our Blue Peter Stampede. Well, every day since our first announcement, stamps have been pouring into our depot. As you know, it's in Oxford, and if you happen to be walking through the town, you can't miss it, because it's right in the middle of Oxford, in the High Street.
Several times a day, the post office delivers your envelopes. This was the first delivery just after 9 in the morning.
This is the delivery hatch. All the mailbags are shot straight down into the basement. 3 postmen had to come along to unload, and they were needed too. The van was completely crammed with sacks.
The post office keep a record of where every mailbag comes from. So as each sack came out of the van, one postman called out the town it came from, and another recorded it on a mini tape recorder.
Reading,
Reading.
Aldershot, Aldershot.
Are you buried yet?
Are there many more up there?
A lot!
How many do you reckon we've got now, Bruce?
135, I think.
That's 136.
Right.
The big one up the top.
Okay.
Each delivery brings about 2 tons of mail. The sacks are stored down here until they're ready to be sorted.
I joined the sorters upstairs. The room we were using was an old shop, but now the long counters where people used to buy their meat and groceries was covered in envelopes of every shape and size. On the other side of the counter were boxes marked British commemoratives, British definitives, foreign and Commonwealth, and all this made sorting fast and easy. Right, don't forget to save your empty envelopes. Don't chuck them away, because they've all got stamps on them. Quite right. We were delighted to find some stamps arrived already sorted, and that made our job 10 times faster. And on one side.
Right, thanks very much, fellas. That's a lot. Now I'd finished unloading, I could give a hand sorting too. We'd got to get the counter clear before the next delivery.
As well as stamps, some albums had arrived at the depot. Our stamp expert, John Larder Cole, showed me quite a prize page. Penny black there.
We've got 2.
How much is that one worth?
I'd say about £10. And look at this second one.
Yeah?
Not quite as much, but a good stamp. By gosh, there's a good 10-shilling one. And Oh, look at this. £5.
Oh, super, is that?
Do you know, I reckon there's £100 worth there. I really do. Yes, I think that's
What about
marvellous,
modern stamps? How do modern stamps compare?
Well, look at this. Half a sheet of England winners. How about that?
That's all right.
Isn't it just? Well, it's a fiver's worth.
Is it?
Yes.
I'll get looking in the sack.
Hold on. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Is there more?
Let's put this away first.
Oh, that's going to go through. Experts like Mr. Coles are vital helpers. It takes a lot of knowledge to spot the unusual stamps amongst the millions that are pouring in. But all the sorters are keeping a beady eye open for anything unusual. And John's always on hand to advise. But it's quantity that counts. If we're going to get those oxen, ploughs and seeds, we need every single stamp you can send us.
Working fast enough. I'm working fast. Well done. Well done.
After a while, I found a good technique. Tear the stamps off first, then when I'd got 20 or 30, I'd sort them out. We were all careful not to damage the stamps, and where they were stuck to envelopes, we made sure we left a good border around the edges. Damage to the perforation makes a stamp less valuable.
Oh, John, I've got something here that I opened earlier. I didn't know what to do with them. Jersey and Channel Islands first day covers. Let's have a look.
Ah, yes, these are wartime issues. They're very good indeed.
They're valuable.
Yes, they are. That's something that really is worthwhile.
As the boxes in front of the counter filled up, Pete and I went along emptying them into the sacks. First, we concentrated on British commemoratives. They were every third box along the counter.
Last one.
Everyone was working flat out. By the time we'd filled the sack, the foreign and Commonwealth boxes would be ready for emptying. So would the British definitives. Then it would be back to the commemorative boxes again.
Each sack of sorted stamps has to weigh exactly £51 before it goes up for sale. That's the equivalent of about 400 envelopes full, which means we'll need 5,000 sacks like this before we reach our target. It's still a long way off, but thanks to you, we're off to a splendid start.
Oh, thank you very much again to every single person who sent us in any stamps. Please keep on sending them. We need every single one we can get. And if you're thinking of delivering your stamps by hand to our depot there at 4 High Street, Oxford, you can. It's open from 9 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock in the evening every weekday, and on Saturdays it's open from 9 o'clock in the morning until midday.
And nearer Christmas, it may be open on Sunday as well. Now, if you've got a copy of our new Blue Peter book, inside you've probably seen a rather interesting article on some remarkable children. They're the Little Angels of Korea. It was about a year ago since they came to the studio, and they did some really spectacular dancing. Leslie got to know them very well indeed. In fact, they even tried to teach her to eat with chopsticks.
Well, for the past few weeks, the Little Angels have been back in Britain and touring the country again. And today, before they return back to Korea on Wednesday, they've made a return flying visit to our studio. Leslie's talking to them.
Hello? Hello! Oh, it's nice to see you all again. Well, actually, the Little Angels here today aren't all the same ones that were here last year, because, as we explain in our Blue Peter book, at the grand old age of 15, the Little Angels retire. So all the time there's new, younger ones being trained to replace the older girls. Now, Hun So Pa.
Yes.
I've got that right. Marvellous. Have you enjoyed your trip to Britain?
Yes, very much.
Well, we were very glad that during your busy trip to Britain you had time to visit us here in the Blue Peter studio, because we wanted to give you, for all of you, this Blue Peter book.
Thank
All
you.
right? Well, you might have noticed that not all the Little Angels are in their very smart travelling outfits. Some of them are, in fact, in costume, and this is because they're going to do a dance for us. So, Hun So Pa, if you'd like to take the dancers off to get into their positions, I'll explain what the dance is all about. OK? Off you go. You go that way, and I'll take the book. Right? Well, the little angels are going to do for us a dance called the Doll's Dance. And the reason it's called this is because the costumes they wear are exact replicas of the traditional costumes on a Korean doll. And during the dance, they are all actually going to become Korean dolls.
Wasn't that super?
Yes, thank
That
you
was
very
lovely,
much
wasn't it?
indeed.
Beautiful.
It's marvellous.
I really
Thanks for
enjoyed
coming to the
seeing you
studio.
all. And thank you for coming to the studio. And we wish you a very safe journey back to Korea on Wednesday.
Yes, we do indeed. And we'll be back in the studio here on Thursday, and Patrick Moore will be here in the studio to talk about that amazing comet Kohoutek.
And if you're a bit short on Christmas ideas for presents, say, for Dad or an uncle, then Leslie's got a great one, in fact, that will just suit the bill.
And I shall tell you what it is on Thursday. So till then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.